Are you an owner, operator, or freight dispatcher in the trucking industry wanting to increase revenue in your trucking business? If so, this video is for you. So in today's video, I want to explain proven methods that are guaranteed to increase the rates in your trucking company if you're an owner operator, and in your freight dispatch company if you're a freight dispatcher. There are proven ways to increase rates in trucking, and I want to be able to provide you with those ideas in this video. When I first started my freight dispatching business, one of the things I knew I had to do was to be able to increase the rates of the owner operators I was dispatching for, because I knew if I weren't able to increase the rates, I wouldn't have good retention within my freight dispatching company. So as a freight dispatcher, you want to be able to increase rates in the trucking companies that you're working with. And by increasing those rates, owner operators are going to stay with you. If you have proven ways to increase rates, owner operators are never going to leave you because they would have no reason to. If they're always making more money, in any business that you are helping people to make more money, if you're able to help them make more money, they're never going to leave you, because that's what everyone wants to do. They want to make more money. Or if you're an owner operator, you will also, of course, want to make more money in your trucking company. And when I first came into the trucking industry, because as a freight dispatcher, I was new to this industry. I didn't have any prior experience. But one thing I noticed about this industry, and it's still the same, I believe most people in this industry concentrate on the negative. Only thing you have to do is take a little bit, a look around trucking, and you'll see most people saying, say no to cheap freight, say no to cheap loads, right? But that's concentrating on the negative, right? So as soon as I seen that, and I seen the things that go on in the trucking industry, because I was new to this industry, as soon as I seen the things that go on in this industry, I knew most people in this industry are concentrating on the negative. That's what manifests negative within their business. So I would never, ever say no to cheap freight, right? As many people that say that in this industry, I have never said that, and I never will. What I would say is say yes to high paying freight, right? Because it's no use of thinking about the cheap freight. You want to say yes to high paying freight. So I want the trucking industry to turn our attention to saying yes to high paying freight. And by saying yes to high paying freight, it will cause you to think of all the right ideas, right? You can call it to think of the righteous ideas. Righteous ideas meaning the right thoughts. You want the right thoughts to lead up to manifesting an increased revenue, right? You don't even want to think anything about cheap freight. Why? Your desire is not cheap freight. Your objective is not cheap freight. So let's talk about the objective. The objective is high paying freight. You can see this all over the trucking industry. So I got a couple slides for you guys tonight, but before I get started on that, we have to realize business, everything in life is of the spirit. It's of the spirit. It's how we're thinking. So it's of the mindset. So if you have the mindset where you're constantly thinking, say no to cheap freight, say no to low paying loads, you're putting cheap freight in your consciousness. You're putting that on your attention. You don't want to put cheap freight on your attention. You want to put high paying loads on your attention, right? So just basically aiming your attention towards the way you want to go. You don't want to go towards cheap paying freight. So you don't have to you should never put your attention on cheap paying freight. You should put your attention on high paying freight and only think about, how do I get higher paying freight? Forget the cheap freight, forget the brokers paying a low amount of money, forget the dollar something per mile loads, because that's not what we want. So basically we need to turn our back towards the low paying loads, basically, and turn our attention. By turning your back, I mean turning your attention towards high paying loads, right? So I'm going to be giving you guys all the ideas that I thought about. What you need to do, and what I mean by that statement, as a business owner, if you're an owner operator or you're a freight dispatcher, basically, you just need to, like I always say, take out a piece of paper and a pen and start writing down all the ideas that can actually increase your rates, increase the money that you're making within your trucking business, or within your freight dispatch business. It's never a need to think about the cheap rate or what's making you lose money, because that's misguided attention. And that's not going to manifest higher paying loads. That's really just going to keep your attention on the lower paying loads, and you're never, ever going to get anywhere. So what I do in business, I just take out pen and paper and start writing down everything, all the ideas that I can think of to increase revenue in my business, right? That's the correct use of faith. Complaining about low paying rates and talking about it, that's incorrect use of faith, and it will not manifest higher profits, right? Everything is of the spirit. So, right, that's the only thing you need to think in life, about how your mind manifests things, right? So, and honestly, people in business that are thinking about the negative and about cheap rates and everything going wrong in their business, they're attracting more of that into their business. If you're a freight dispatcher and you're thinking about low paying freight, and you're on the load board and you're booking loads for owner operators, and all you're thinking about is the negative, you're manifesting negativity into your business, and you're manifesting negativity into that trucking business, and you're going to make that trucking business fail, right? So you need to be thinking about what you want, not what you don't want. You don't need to think about say no to cheap freight. I see that everywhere in the trucking industry, and it's absolutely wrong. I never, ever heard anybody say yes to high paying freight. You won't see that in the trucking industry. And the trucking industry wonders why they have all the problems that they do, because the trucking industry talks more about the negative side than the positive side. But we're going to go ahead and get into the slides so I can give you guys the information that I first started using years ago. And this was still, I guarantee you, this will still work for you today. If you're brand new to freight dispatching, this will work for you today, just like it worked for me when I first started. Also, it's about 5 hours left on my 40% off sale for my boot camp, and the strategies that I teach you in today's video, I will be helping you implement these strategies into your freight dispatching business or into your trucking business to make more revenue. If you're a freight dispatcher, what I'm about to go over will help you make more money for the owner operators that you dispatch, and it's probably something that the owner operators aren't doing themselves and you can do as a freight dispatcher. So make sure you click the link in the description and join my freight dispatcher bootcamp and save 40%. Just like I had a recent student just join my bootcamp, and the reason she said she joined is because I have firsthand knowledge, right? Firsthand knowledge, right? That's what I want to show in all my videos. This is firsthand knowledge. It's just things that I thought about myself, because as a business owner, I believe I need to come up with my own ideas, right? I turn my back to the market. I don't look at what the market's doing, because if you look at what the trucking market's doing or the trucking industry's doing, you're going to fail, because there's too much negativity and too many people focus on what takes money away from them. It's too much blaming. You see owner operators and dispatchers blaming brokers, right? Blaming brokers. But it's like, what can you do as an owner operator to improve your business? Instead of blaming somebody else, what can you do as a freight dispatcher to improve your business and improve the businesses of the truck drivers that you're dispatching for, instead of blaming brokers, right? Me, myself, I feel as a business owner, I do not have time to blame nobody in the world for a lack of revenue. If I'm lacking revenue, that's my fault. And I need to think of the righteous ideas or the right thoughts, right? I need to keep putting right thoughts in my mind that make more revenue. I don't need the wrong thoughts in my mind. I don't need to say no to cheap freight. That's unrighteous thought. That's the incorrect use of faith, and it will never manifest the objective. It will not bring the objective or your solution into being. That's just how it works. It's simple. And I'm saying this because, too, I think the world and society needs to get back to using spirituality, knowing how to use spirituality. And I'm saying, when I say spirituality, I mean knowing the right use of your mind. Most people are using their mind in the wrong direction. Saying no to cheap freight is using your mind in the wrong direction. But saying yes to high paying freight is using your mind in the right direction. Let's get into it. Let's get into these slides. All right, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to share with you guys. This is The first tip that I'm about to give away here is really what I use to get my business started and to be able to book higher paying freight for the owner operators that I was dispatching. And as I said, when I first started my freight dispatch business, this was my first business that I ever started. And I had no prior experience at all in the trucking industry. And what I want you to know, if you're new, you don't need any prior experience. You just need to know business and how to use your mind to make money. Saying no to cheap freight isn't using your mind to make money. So if you say no to cheap freight, that's like hitting up a brick wall every time you think, because your mind's just gonna stop there at saying no to cheap freight. But if you say yes to high paying freight, you're just gonna think of more ideas to manifest the solution that you want. So let's get into it. The key to increasing profit, building a strong network. It's all about your network and your connections. So why a strong network matters. Your success depends on the strength of your network. More connections equal more opportunities for high paying loads. So what most owner operators and most dispatchers are going to do, they're going to depend on the load board only. And when they don't see any good loads or high paying freight on the load boards, they're going to complain. This is what I call laziness, right? By taking one route and then not getting what you want and complaining about it and not using your mind to think of more ideas, that's laziness. That's being lazy with your mind. And being lazy with your mind does not make money. So more connections equals more opportunities. Weekly KPI goals for networking. This is exactly how I became successful with my freight dispatching business. So before we move any further on this slide, let's talk about what KPIs are. Every business needs KPIs. As an owner operator, a trucking business needs to be hitting KPIs. So does a dispatching business. And I'll add in why I personally believe why so many trucking businesses aren't successful and so many freight dispatching businesses aren't successful, because we're not thinking of general basic business knowledge, as in hitting KPIs. So I'm going to go over KPIs. What are KPIs? KPIs, key performance indicators, are measurable goals that track the success of specific activities or strategies in your business. They provide clear benchmarks to evaluate progress and identify areas for improvement. Examples: number of brokers contacted, shippers reached, or high-paying loads booked each week. So KPIs are numbers that you need to set within your company. As all business owners should know about KPIs, and you should be hitting your KPIs at all times. So for the purposes of this video, when I say KPIs, I'm meaning the key performance indicators. I'm meaning how many brokers you come in contact with per week or per month. Connections equal opportunity. So you want to grow your connections. So as an owner operator or a freight dispatcher, you want to grow the number of connections you have with brokers and shippers, because in growing those connections with brokers and shippers is going to be growing your income. It's all a manifestation. We need to know how to manifest money, how to manifest cash flow, right? Most people that come into business are only thinking about the actual physical money, paper money, but you need to think about the ideas, the righteous thoughts that lead to money, right? You have to think of it's certain ideas, certain thoughts. Making money takes a certain thought process, right? What you'll see most people doing, if they can't make any money, they just complain about not making money instead of thinking about, okay, let me stop complaining about not making money or not making the amount of money I want to make. And let me just think about all the right thoughts that actually manifest into making money. It's that easy. Let's get it. So for me, what I would do as a business owner, I would set a weekly KPI goal, right? So connect with 10 to 15 brokers weekly through industry specific groups. This is exactly what I've done when I first started my dispatching business. So I was thinking that I need to grow my connections. I need a network of brokers. I need to meet people who have loads. And then it's common sense. Business and making money is common sense, but most people are not going to use their common sense. The only thing it takes is growing the connections, right? And not just only for a day or for a week. You need to keep that up through the entire process of your business. So what I would do is if I was an owner operator or a freight dispatcher, I'm going to set a KPI goal to connect with 10 to 15 brokers weekly through industry specific groups. This could be on Facebook, like Facebook trucking groups. And then I would also, if I'm an owner operator, I would contact 5 to 10 shippers weekly from a pre-research list. That's important, a pre-research list. And notice this is connecting with a certain amount of brokers and connecting with a certain amount of shippers per week using a pre-research list, right? I'm pointing that out because most people aren't going to take the time to do this, right? It's easy to make money, but you have to follow the right steps and then you have to keep it up over time. So you need to have a KPI of connecting with 10 to 15 brokers per week and contact 5 to 10 shippers per week. You can also send one email daily to brokers and shippers. So when I first started, what I started to do is I started to take whatever opportunities that I could do, that I could take action on when it comes to networking with brokers and shippers, whether that was Facebook groups or whether that was going to industry events about trucking. I just wanted to meet as many people as possible that have possible loads, because meeting these people, growing my network, allowed me to book more loads for owner operators. And then the more I grew my network, that's growing my cash flow, because the more I grew my network and meet brokers and shippers, that's the more opportunities that I have to book high paying loads. And as I increase the amount of brokers and shippers I meet week by week by week, that actually grows the cash flow. It grows the opportunities. You know, instead of just complaining about I can't book high paying loads and basically sitting on my ass and not doing nothing, I got off my ass and made something happen. Showcase your unique value proposition. So having something unique about your business as an owner operator or a freight dispatcher that you can offer to brokers, right? You can offer to shippers. Focus on consistency. Building a network takes time and effort. Commit to hitting these goals every week, right? So you need to commit to hitting these goals every single week. So what you need to do is set a KPI for how many brokers you're going to talk to every week. And then, so if you set a KPI and you're going to talk to, if you're going to reach out to 10 to 15 brokers a week through whatever ways you can think of, Facebook groups, going to industry events, whatever you can do to meet more brokers. And if you're hitting KPIs and you're reaching out to 10 to 15 brokers per week, and you're doing that every single week, it's kind of common sense. What's going to happen? You're going to meet more people. So by hitting those KPIs, this is just business, right? When I think about business, if I'm looking online or wherever I'm looking at, sometimes I don't see people talking like real business. Real business is hitting KPIs no matter what. You just keep hitting those KPIs. 10 to 15 brokers per week. You do that the first week, the second week, the third week, and you go on and on and on through your business, and you keep hitting KPIs. That's what I do, right? I'm not thinking about the market. I'm not thinking about what nobody else is saying. I'm thinking about hitting KPIs, right? Because me, myself, as a business owner, and by hitting my KPIs, I'm going to improve my own business, and I'm going to improve the business of the owner operators I'm dispatching for, and I don't even have to think about what the market's doing. I don't even have to think about what loads or how much the average. I'm never thinking about what the average loads are paying or what the rates are looking like right now, right? Like you hear people asking all these questions. What are rates looking like right now, right? It don't make any sense to me, because for me, in my own business, I'm just worried about hitting KPIs, because by hitting these KPIs and making contact with 10 to 15 brokers per week and making contact with 5 to 10 shippers per week, what that's going to do, that is going to increase your rates, because more connections, as we see up here, more connections equal more opportunities, right? So the only thing I got to think about is growing my connections. If you're just thinking about the industry and what the rates are looking like on the load boards, you're wasting time. And that's what most people are doing, right? It takes a different way of thinking to make money. It takes a different way of thinking to be successful. Even before I ever started a business, I already knew I got to think different for most people. If I'm thinking the same as everybody else, or if I'm thinking the same as the majority of people, I'm not going to make it, right? Because successful people are thinking different, right? Look at the trucking industry, right? What does this trucking industry talk about? The only thing the trucking industry talks about is the trucking businesses that's going out of business. And they bring that up like they're glorifying that, which don't make any sense, right? Let's talk about the trucking businesses that's staying in business. That's the ones I want to know about. I want to know about the ones that's increasing their revenue. I want to know about the ones that's scaling, right? Because it's both sides. Some in any industry, you got people going out of business, not making any money, and you got people making buku money and scaling their business, right? And making money, like all type of money, right? Those are the ones I want to talk about. I don't care about the ones going out of business. I don't even want to know about them. I don't want to hear anything about them, because I don't want to put that in my consciousness, right? I don't want to put that on my attention. I don't need to know anything about them. That's not my concern. My concern is the ones staying in business, right? This is the problem with the trucking industry. Like I said, I was new. I'm not a trucker. I don't have my CDL. I don't have any of that, right? I'm just a business person. I know how to use my mind and think of the right thoughts to make money. And then one thing I definitely don't do, I don't think like everybody else. If you think like the majority of people, you will never make money and you will never be successful, because the majority of people are not successful, right? Put this question on the screen right one time. Can this be done while working a 9 to 5 to start? This is exactly how I started. I had a 9 to 5 when I first started. And then I'll tell you another thing. Anything is possible. There's no way I could say, oh no, you can't have a 9 to 5. It's like, can you make it work? Can you do what you got to do to make it work, right? I'll tell you what I did. When I was working my 9 to 5, like a lot of you guys might know already, I had an office job and I was booking loads from my office, right? Soon as break time came up, lunch break came up, I'm running out the door, right? Because I'm running out the door to sit in my car and work on my business, right? I don't got time for nothing else. I'm running out the door, right? So it depends on your dedication, really. Anything is possible in business depending on your dedication, how dedicated you are, right? Yeah. So it can definitely be done with a 9 to 5. It's just depending. I have people in my boot camp program right now, and some people, they're just interested in learning the marketing and sales. And I already have virtual assistants that you can hire for a very low price. The virtual assistants that I have, after you hire on one driver, that one driver that you dispatch for is going to cover the price of your virtual assistant, right? So, and that's really the way you want to start business. That's a good question, because to be a business owner, you don't want to just be in the day-to-day operations of your business. Really, you just want to market and sell the services, and then employees do the work. That's what having a business is. That's another thing too. I mentor a lot of people who are just like myself, and they came from, they're coming from 9 to 5s, right? They're coming from being an employee, working for somebody else. And you got to realize, if you want to be a business owner, it takes a different mindset. You can't bring the same mindset from being an employee into business because it will not work, right? You have to think like a business owner. And as a business owner, you should want to just market and sell your services. And then you have employees working for you that do the day-to-day operations. Same in a dispatching business. You know, owning a dispatching business is absolutely not about dispatching. Owning a business is not about doing the day-to-day work within the business. You will never scale a business if you're only focused on doing the day-to-day work, right? So owning a business is just about marketing your value, marketing the business and selling people into what you're marketing. And then you have somebody else do all the work. What do employees do? That's what employees do. Like somebody else is marketing and selling the business. And then as an employee, you're just doing all the work. You're just doing the day-to-day operations, right? So these are things you got to think about. If you don't think about that, if you don't have that mindset from day one of starting your business, because you're starting a business, if you don't have that mindset from day one, you will never make it because you have the unrighteous thoughts. You don't have the right thoughts that lead to the right ideas, right? So what I do in my boot camp program is my main objective is to give you the right thoughts, because I know so many people coming into business are not thinking the right way. If I can just get you to think the right way, then you'll start thinking more towards that direction and it will manifest into a successful business. But if you're thinking the wrong thoughts, if you're thinking that you're going to just dispatch forever, you're not going to be able to scale and grow your business. So that's not going to manifest into a successful business. It's that easy, right? It's just about the thoughts that you're thinking. So KPIs, you want to set a goal of how many brokers and shippers you're reaching out to per week and per month, and you want to hit those goals, right? And you want to think about all the different ideas of how to reach out and connect with those brokers. And when I first started, I didn't have AI, right? AI is one of the best things ever. That's what I teach in my boot camp. If you're not using AI, you're behind. Also, let's hit on that for a minute. AI, what AI is going to help us to do? AI is taking a lot of work off of us, right? We need to use AI to help us make money, right? Just like the port strike a couple months ago, right? So in the ports, they didn't want autonomous vehicles, doing their jobs, right? So many employees don't want AI taking over their jobs, but it's going to happen. That's the wrong thought. That's unrighteous thought. You don't need to think about that. You need to think about, how can I use AI to make myself some money, right? Because that's what your job, the owners of your company, that's what they're thinking about. How can I use AI so I don't have to pay employees, right? So you, as a person wanting to start a business, you need to think about, the righteous thought would be, how can I use AI to actually start a business, right? Don't be scared of it. Think about how you can use it for your own purpose, how you can use it to get where you want to get. So let's hop into AI. Let's hop into ChatGPT here real fast. So you can see what I told AI. I told ChatGPT, act as an expert owner operator and give me a list of 20 companies complete with phone numbers, websites, and a description of each shipper who ships lumber out of, I just selected a city, Nashville, Tennessee. I will use this list to call the shippers for direct freight for my trucking company, right? So I just put that into AI and it gave me a list of companies in Nashville, Tennessee. And you can click, I can click on this link here, boom. It's going to give me that shipper, show me where they're located. It's Walker Lumber and Supply. I got the address. I have the phone number, right? You got all this to your access. So what business is about, like, you got to, again, the righteous thought. This is the way my mind's working. My mind is working, hey, just hop on ChatGPT. And basically, even like if I'm an owner operator, I'm doing this. I'm coming up with a list and I'm using AI so I don't have to waste a lot of time and research this. I'm just popping this into ChatGPT. And it's giving me a list of 20 shippers. The only thing I got to do, let's select a Nashville Lumber Company. Bam. It's this easy. Making money is easy, right? And it gives me the number to Nashville Lumber Company. the address, the phone number, and I'm going to hit my KPIs. If I say from the beginning of the week, if I say I'm going to call 20 shippers and see if they have loads to ship out, I'm growing my network, right? Instead of sitting back and complaining about low paying loads on the load board, that is lazy. That's lazy, right? I'm not going to be the one doing that. In my own business, I'm going to be the one doing this. I'm going to be behind the scenes doing something that other people aren't doing, using AI and easily getting numbers, right? And then I'm going to set a KPI goal of reaching out to 20 shippers. And I'm not going to take a long time on getting their numbers and stuff. I'm just going to tell ChatGPT to give me 20 shippers. It's that easy these days. I didn't even have it. When I first started my freight dispatch business or started my trucking company, it was not this easy. These days, it is super easy. Goodwood, Nashville. There's plenty of companies. So basically, you just set a KPI of how many companies you're going to reach out to, because you're guaranteed to increase your rates if you set a KPI of reaching out to 20 shippers per week, and then you hit that KPI every week. And how I think about it, if you set a KPI of reaching out to 20 shippers per week, and then over the time frame of a month, what's that, 80 shippers? That's 80 shippers you reached out to, right? So this is how easy business is to me. Say you got trucking company A who has an owner operator and dispatcher who aren't setting KPIs for anything, like 97% of the market, right? Most people aren't going to do what I'm talking about in this video. And my main point, even when people join my bootcamp program, which is 40% off, you guys can join that link, right? Because you're going to learn all this and more, right? So basically, if you got that trucking company A and the dispatcher and they're not thinking about hitting any KPIs, if they're just complaining about the load board, not using their mind, not strengthening up their mind, just being lazy and complaining about low paying rates and not doing anything about it, they're just not going to be doing anything. They're not going to be increasing their revenue over time. But if you got trucking company B, who the owner operator and a dispatcher are both thinking about hitting KPIs, and they're reaching out to more brokers every week and reaching out to more shippers every week, is common sense. If you're increasing your connections, you're going to increase your opportunities, which are going to increase your rates, which is going to increase your cash flow, right? I teach how to have a pipeline system. For me, everything in life works in a pipeline. You got to have the right thought in your mind, and the right thought in your mind is going to lead to the right idea, or it's going to lead to the right results in the physical world, right? So like I said, everything happens in the spirit. Everything happens with your mindset, right? People complain and blame brokers or blame the FMCSA or blame the government. How about you just change your thought in your mind and see where that change of thought leads to in your bank account? For me as a business owner, that's the only thing I'm ever doing. I'm trying to change my thought, think of better and more high vibrational ideas in my mind, and then see where that leads to in my bank account. And then I've trained myself over time to think of more high vibrational thoughts in my mind and see how that affects my bank account. Think of those better thoughts in my mind and see how that affects the trucking companies that I'm dispatching for. Think of better ideas in my mind and see how that affects the people in my freight dispatch bootcamp, right? It's all the same thing for me. So basically, it's easy. Use ChatGPT and have it come up with a list of shippers for you to reach out to. It's effortlessly. Look, copy. And how fast it can do this. I'm going to tell it again. And then this time I'm going to say 50. Enter. Like, this is too easy. But it's really about what you're doing on your own time. That's how I feel like business is. Because everybody isn't going to be doing this on their own time, right? And it's giving me more, right? Everybody is not going to be behind the scenes doing this in their business, but I'm telling you, this is what I'm doing, right? So yeah, just reaching out to these companies. They're right here and it's that easy. Click on this one. So all the information is there. So as a freight dispatch company, this is how you're going to grow your business over time. As a trucking company, this is how you're going to grow your trucking company over time. I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen, but basically I told ChatGPT to give me a list of 50 companies. It'll just keep going and going. You have unlimited access to companies, and you don't really have to work hard to get this access and contact information anymore. Remember, if you've been in trucking some years ago, you remember direct shippers list, right? Direct shippers list. Honestly, I'm the one that started putting that out there. I started to sell direct shippers lists back years ago, right? To owner operators and freight dispatchers. I don't sell any direct shippers lists anymore because it's free. You can just go here. I don't want to charge you for something that you can get for free and it's easy. So I don't do it anymore, right? So this has took the place of direct shippers lists. And as you can imagine, most owner operators aren't doing this. So the reason trucking businesses are failing because owner operators aren't growing their business, right? You actually have to set KPIs and do things like this to grow your business. It's not going to grow on its own, or it's not going to grow from you complaining about the loads that's on the load boards. But if you do what I'm saying, it's guaranteed to grow. Right. Let's keep moving forward. I love this stuff. I love ideas to make money, right? Because using these ideas, just like a student in my boot camp told me earlier, she said, the ideas you give me is not only affecting me, it's affecting my family and it's affecting my kids. Hey, that touched my heart. That really did touch my heart. You know, Kizzy, she might be on this live right now. I don't know. She said she was going to be on here. I bet she's on here right now. But just to let Kizzy know, that touched my heart. And that make me even want to go harder to teach ideas, you know, so I can have an effect on people's families, on my customer, not only on my customers, but on their families and their kids too. So as an owner operator using these ideas, you're going to be able to increase your revenue. Jump right back into the slides. So, booking high-paying loads. Why focus on high-paying loads? Short distance loads. So one thing I realized as a freight dispatcher, when I first came into the game, what a lot of freight dispatchers are going to do is try to book loads going a lot of miles, but they aren't paying the right amount they need to pay for those miles because the freight dispatcher is just trying to make money since they're making a percentage. So what I like doing for my owner operators is trying to find loads that's high paying going a short amount of miles. Because what this does, it reduces fuel costs and wear and tear on trucks. So what I'm talking about is booking loads, let's say going 300 miles paying $1,000, right? I'm going to try to book those loads. I want my owner operators getting paid over $3 per mile. It increases net revenue per mile traveled. So per every mile they travel, they make more money. What to look for in ideal loads. You want high paying rates with shorter travel distances. You want loads that align with efficient backhauls or minimize deadhead miles, right? So when you're, as a freight dispatcher, you want to minimize the amount of deadhead miles that your owner operator is traveling, because as we all know, if the owner operator is deadheading, they're not making any money, right? So you want to minimize those miles. Consistent routes or lanes with high demand, right? And how can we make all this happen? By hitting KPIs on the brokers that we're reaching out to, right? Everyone wants easy money. Everybody just wants to jump into some money, right? But you need to think of the right ideas that actually lead to money and keep your mind focused on those right ideas and be consistent with those right ideas. And as you stretch your mind out towards these right ideas, you're going to be stretching your bank account out, right? In business, your bank account is the result of your own mind and nothing else. Evaluate load boards and broker offers. Prioritize brokers offering premium rates, right? I think I used Nashville, Tennessee as an example because for years I've been having a broker in Nashville, Tennessee, and anytime I book a load going into Nashville, Tennessee, because I hit KPIs and I've done my networking. I have brokers across the country in certain cities. And if I'm on a load board and I book a load, let's say going into Nashville, Tennessee, for example, I already know I got a connection there because I have a broker there that's always offering high paying loads. The only thing I do is email him. He has loads there all the time. I got brokers across the country that always have high paying loads, right? So I don't have to be on the load board all the time. I can just email the broker and it's automatic. When I'm emailing the broker, I don't even second guess it. I already know they got loads because how the shippers that they have always have loads going out those particular cities, right? That's where you want to get your freight dispatching business too, or your trucking company too, right? You see a lot of owner operators just complaining about the loads that's on the load boards. But, when I see that, I'm thinking, are you hitting KPIs on reaching out to brokers? Do you have brokers that have high paying loads all over the country? Are you growing your trucking business, or are you just expecting it to grow by itself? Which one are you doing? Right? Most people are just expecting their business to grow by itself, and it's not going to grow by itself. It's going to grow by the ideas that you're thinking of and the action that you take. Faith without works is dead. If you don't have any faith, if you're not thinking of the right ideas and you're not putting in the right work, it's dead. You're not going to get anywhere. It's common sense. Let's go. Look for time sensitive loads that pay extra for faster delivery, right? Even on the load board, some of those loads are going to be time sensitive and they need it dropped off ASAP. So when I'm even on the load boards, I'm looking for those time sensitive loads, right? Because they want that load there on time. Sometimes it's construction equipment. Sometimes that truck needs to be there with that particular load because that broker or the shipper is paying for a crane to offload that load. So it has to be there at a certain time. Those loads are always going to pay more money. Those are the loads I want for my owner operators. Build relationships with brokers offering repeat business. That's a big one right there. You want brokers offering repeat business. I just said that, right? With the broker I have in Nashville, Tennessee, I get repeat business from him. For anybody that I'm dispatching for, any trucking company that I'm dispatching for, I get repeat business over years. This isn't just one time. I done made so much money with this broker over years. I have plenty of brokers that I'm making money with over years because I'm hitting KPIs and I'm making connections with brokers. And the longer I stay in trucking, my connections is just growing. They're just increasing, right? And as my connections increase, the cash flow increase. If you're a freight dispatcher, as you increase your connections, you're going to increase your cash flow. As those connections increase, the owner operators that come to you today, tomorrow, a week later, you're going to have those connections already in place, and you're going to be able to give them higher paying loads immediately because you already did the work before. That's another thing in business. People have to know you have to do the work before. There my boot camp member is Kizzy right there. High quality thoughts. Like I said, Kizzy, I appreciate you earlier. Our conversation we had earlier, you really motivated me. In saying that what I'm giving to you is affecting you and it's even affecting your kids, right? So that makes me just want to go that much harder. So I appreciate you, a member of my boot camp program right there. She got it. Save time and make more money, right? In business, you want to do that. You want to use that's what making money. It's like the velocity of making money. You want to crunch the time down shorter and shorter as possible. That's what I want for members of my boot camp program. I want to crunch the time that you're making money down as short as possible, right? But I want to expand the amount of money that you're making. So I want you making more money in a shorter amount of time. And hitting these KPIs and reaching out to more brokers is going to allow you to not have to use as much time on the load boards, but make more money easier. Kizzy already got it. She's just putting out the information she's learned in the boot camp program. Let's get it. Leverage data to boost revenue. Track trends and high paying loads using historical data. So you can do that. Another thing I thought about, this is what I'm going to be thinking about for myself. I'm going to be looking at the number of brokers I have made connections with and the revenue coming into my freight dispatching company. And then I'm going to see the more connections that I make, the more revenue I have coming into my freight dispatching company. The more connections I make, the higher paying loads that I'm able to book for my owner operators. It's that easy. Focus on regions or industries with strong freight demand, right? So you need to know the regions of the country that has higher freight demand. You don't want to send your truck to areas that doesn't have high freight demand. Adjust routing strategies based on market insights. So if you see one area of the country, and for me, I can just tell just by being a freight dispatcher, working with the load boards, looking at all the data, I can tell like what area of the country has higher paying freight at what time, right? And you want to leverage that for yourself. Takeaway, maximizing profits isn't just about working harder. I think Kizzy just said that, right? It's about working smarter by choosing the right loads every time, right? Choosing the right loads every time. That's what it's about. Implementation strategy, putting it all together. And I'll say too, like when I speak about the KPIs and reaching more brokers and reaching out to more shippers, for me as a freight dispatcher, and if you are a freight dispatcher, this is what you need to be thinking about. You need to be thinking about maybe most owner operators, or they're busy being an owner operator, driving their truck and securing loads to their trailer. So a lot of owner operators, they're not going to have time to think about hitting KPIs. This is the reason the trucking industry is the way the trucking industry is. Everybody really has the same thoughts. If they're not booking high paying loads, what the majority of the trucking industry, if they're not booking high paying loads, what they're going to do? They're going to complain about brokers. That's the reason I don't never complain, because every moment spent complaining is a moment you could be spending making more money with your own ideas, right? So what most people don't realize is just complaining, you're just wasting time. You're doing it to yourself, right? So what I would think about as a freight dispatcher is owner operators, they might be so busy, they're not really thinking about taking time out to hit certain KPIs. But this is just business 101. Like I teach the people in my boot camp, I teach them like most people aren't successful in business because most people aren't successful in freight dispatching because they're not thinking about just business 101. What I'm explaining the whole time through this video tonight, the only thing I'm explaining is basic business. I'm explaining basic business ideas you can take to any business, right? We could be talking about real estate, hit KPIs, meet more people that want to sell their house and meet more people that want to buy houses. That simple. And then ask yourself, instead of complaining that I don't have any clients to sell a house to, how can I increase that amount? What KPIs do I need to hit every week and every month to sell more houses? And then let me look at the data. Let me see that after I change my mindset and I hit certain KPIs, that my revenue changed and I no longer have to complain. Let's get it. Track and measure your outreach efforts. Track and measure. I don't know how every time I talk, I'm like just directly ahead of the slide I'm about to work on, right? That must be the law of attraction working for me. It got to be, right? You got to track and measure how many people you're reaching out to every week and every month. This is business, right? So, and tracking that, cause and effect. Business is cause and effect, right? You want to think about cause and effect. By me reaching out to more brokers and shippers every month, and me tracking that, I can clearly see that's what you want to be able to do in your business. You want to be able to think of different thoughts and then see the results of those different thoughts, right? So you want to think about, let me increase my KPIs and see the result in my revenue. Let me see the result in the trucking companies that I'm working for. Let me see the result in their revenue. And that's all I'm doing as a freight dispatcher. I'm thinking of different ways to reach out to more brokers and shippers, reach out, different ways to make increase the revenue in my trucking and the owner operators trucking businesses that I'm dispatching for. I'm just thinking of different ideas, better ideas, and then seeing the results. Not paying attention to the market, not thinking about what nobody else is saying, but thinking of different ideas for myself and my business. Because my business is just about like me and my customers. It's not about what the market is saying. So then you use tools like spreadsheets. You use this like a spreadsheet or Trello or CRM program to stay organized and make sure you're hitting those KPIs. And notice the ideas that I'm putting out is nothing like the trucking industry. It's nothing like you normally hear, right? Because those normal ideas, they're not going to lead to you making more money within your business. If that was the case, everybody would be successful and making more money, right? Log key activities, broker and shipper outreach, email sent, and loads booked. So as I'm reaching out to more brokers and more shippers, what I'm doing is when I have owner operators in certain areas, I'm sending out an email every day. Every morning, I'm sending out an email to the brokers that I met. And in that email, I have every type of truck. I say like flat 53-foot flatbed, empty now, and whatever city and state. So I'm listing all my trucks on that email, and I'm sending it out to all the brokers I ever met in my life, right? And then I'm increasing that amount of brokers that I'm meeting because I'm increasing the KPIs. Is that much common sense as if I'm meeting more brokers and shippers because I'm hitting my KPIs? What am I doing? I'm increasing the revenue in my trucking in my freight dispatching business, and I'm increasing the revenue in the owner operators that I dispatch. I'm increasing the revenue in their business as I hit my weekly KPIs, right? And this is what I teach in the boot camp. Review progress weekly to adjust strategies as needed, right? So let's say last week I contacted and I reached out to 20 brokers, right? The next week, I'm going to review my progress and adjust my strategy to even increase that number, because I know in increasing that number, I'm increasing revenue in my business and the trucking companies I'm working with. The importance of consistency. If you're an owner operator or you're a freight dispatcher, if you don't have any consistency about what I'm talking about, then you're not going to really go anywhere. So consistency is really important. Success depends on consistent action, not one-time efforts. The majority of business owners, what are they going to do? Majority of people are going to hop into freight dispatch and give a one-time effort, and then they're done, right? That's not the way business works. You will not manifest the business that you want if you're giving one-time efforts and then expecting results. That's why it's important to hit KPIs week after week after week. And I can keep going further into detail. What I teach my owner operators and the students in my dispatch program, what I want you to do is, because I know, and by hitting these KPIs week after week after week, then you're going to be able to increase your revenue. So because this is just business, this is basic business. Really, you want to increase your revenue every month by a certain percentage. So if you have a goal of increasing your revenue by 10%, every business, like a trucking company, most trucking companies aren't going to think about this. Most owner operators aren't going to think about this. And what they're not going to think about is increasing revenue every month by a certain percentage, and then seeing how much your revenue increases every quarter. Now you got how much your revenue increased every quarter, right? But it's all a manifestation, because you're able to have that increase in your business by those right thought ideas that you thought about, such as increasing your KPIs. So the important point I want people who watch my videos, what I want you to realize is, get the right thought in your mind and it's going to lead to the right money, right? I've seen it time and time since I've been coaching people to start freight dispatching businesses. Sometimes people have so many questions, but those questions aren't even the questions that you need to be asking. Think about it. Who's going to come in thinking about KPIs? What new business owner or what owner operator is thinking about hitting certain KPIs in their business? What owner operator is going to think about reaching out to a certain amount of brokers and shippers per week and growing those connections, and then seeing the result of those connections? Most business owners don't think about that. That's why it's only a small percentage of people actually increasing their revenue at all times. But if you have the right ideas, you're going to be able to increase your revenue at all times. Build momentum by hitting your goals week after week. like I said, I'm already saying what's on the slides. I just said that, right? The law of attraction is so great. Build momentum. I'm talking about building momentum. You got to build momentum week after week. You just can't have one-time efforts. And as you build momentum week after week, you build the momentum in your bank account. Realize your bank account is the result of your own thoughts. As you increase the thought vibrations in your mind, you increase the cash flow in your bank account. The cash flow in your bank account is never going to increase unless you increase what's in your mind. Turn outreach into a routine part of your business operations, right? This needs to be routine, week after week. Example of successful outcomes. A growing network of brokers and shippers providing consistent opportunities. That's a result of what you do. You have that growing network. Increased booking of high-paying loads, maximizing revenue, right? So you had the right thought ideas, you took the right actions, and that manifested into the right thing, which is maximizing revenue. A streamlined, scalable process for managing truck availability and operations. Takeaway: consistency and tracking are the foundation for predictable and sustainable growth. So basically think about it. If you're an owner operator and you're consistently growing your network, which will consistently grow your opportunities, it's going to consistently grow your revenue. So you should get to the point where you have predictable revenue. You should already know how much you're going to grow your revenue. Basically, if you're an owner operator, you're a freight dispatcher, and you know during quarter one, say during quarter one of 2025, at the end of quarter one, if you knew you reached out to more brokers and shippers during quarter one of 2025, if you reached out to more brokers and shippers than you did in quarter four of 2024, that should automatically tell you you're going to be making more money because you have more connections. It's that easy, right? So that's the end of my slides. That's pretty much the end of my video tonight. Hit KPIs. Like I tell people in my boot camp, when I put out information like this for you, and I talked about a lot about hitting KPIs and KPIs. Go Google KPIs, right? Metrics. As Kizzy said, right? You want to hit certain metrics. And Kizzy is saying this. The reason Kizzy is saying this because in a boot camp, what I teach you from day one is to hit certain metrics. If you can hit certain metrics from the beginning of your business, this is what you need to do all the way through. And if you can join my boot camp program for 40% off right now, and I can teach you from the very beginning of your business to hit certain metrics, then the whole way through, you're going to be concerned. Your awareness is going to be on hitting certain metrics. And if your awareness is on hitting certain metrics, you're going to be able to increase your revenue the entire way through because you're already looking at data, right? Most new business owners aren't thinking about metrics. Most new business owners are asking low vibrational thoughts like, is it a good time to get into this now? Well, it depends on what you do, right? That's what I explained this whole video is it depends on what you do, right? You ask yourself, is it a good time? Are you going to do the right work or you're not, right? Are you going to hit certain metrics? But most new business owners are going to be thinking about so much else like, is it a good time or how's the market right now? Or I heard this or I heard that. Just all stuff that don't even matter, right? Hitting metrics is what matters. I appreciate you for being here tonight, Kizzy. Hey, if you guys want to join Kizzy and you want to learn this knowledge and you want to be able to know what metrics you need to hit, and if you want to have high vibrational thoughts that actually lead to you making money and starting a business, make sure you join my bootcamp program for 40% off. I thank all you guys for being in this live tonight. I believe what I'm going to do for the rest of this month is I'm going to do a live every Sunday. So make sure you come out every Sunday and join my live. I thank you guys.